welcome to another episode here on Deep Mountain Security. Today we're going to be covering a couple different things, but first I just wanted to give you some updates on some of the current state of some of the recent vulnerabilities that have been found. So real quick thing on the Spectre and Meltdown Intel vulnerabilities. Qualcomm has also mentioned that they are vulnerable, and Apple has updates out for all its devices now, and it looks like we might potentially have more problems in the future based on these architectures. Another thing is Wi-Fi. I'm not doing a hacking Wi-Fi thing right now. If you want that, let me know in the comments below so I can make sure to do a video on it. However, WPA3 is out. Some of you might know that WPA2 security was cracked recently, and now WPA3 is out. You might not see it in devices quite yet, but as soon as you do, I highly recommend it, because what it has, besides just better overall encryption, is it has by device encryption. So your device cannot see the traffic of other devices on the same Wi-Fi network, which is actually really useful. Okay. So another thing that people have been doing lately is they've been stealing cryptocurrency wallets from people sitting at coffee shops. So don't do financial transactions in public places that have public Wi-Fi. Bad idea. Anyways, we'll cover more of that later. But today I want to show you a little brief overview of Nmap. And so I've got a Kali box here. I've also got a couple of other boxes. We've got our Fedora box, our Ubuntu box, and the Windows box somewhere in here. And so that's why things are kind of running a little slow right now. And because these all have about 6 gigs of RAM apiece, and so that makes for fun times. However, I just want to show you a little bit about how you can discover devices on your network using Nmap. So there's a couple ways you can use Nmap. The first one, and this works on both Linux and Windows boxes alike. I do this on Windows fairly often since I'm quite frequently on a Windows computer. However, when I have the preference, I usually choose to use Kali or a Linux box. So you can see that we've got the help page here for Nmap. So as soon as you run Nmap, it's going to tell you here, it's a fairly complex program. We're just going to only touch the beginning of it right now just because of how complex it is. But you can see it's got a lot of different things that you can do here. So if we scroll a little bit, so all these dashes, these are different parameters you can do and different things that you can set. And just taking a look at this, we could probably get some decent information here just using a command line. However, since we're in a graphical utility, I kind of want to show you something else called Zenmap. And what Zenmap is it is pretty much just the graphical utility for Nmap. So instead of doing everything in a command line, we've got ourselves a nice little thing we can work in here and do stuff. So a couple of things to show you around Zenmap in of itself. We've got a couple different tabs here. This is where our information is going to display. We've got some information over here. This is where the different results or the different searches that we run are going to show up different hosts over here. We've got our target. This is where we tell it where we want, what we want to target when we're scanning. Because, like I said, this is a network scanner. It helps you to map out your network. And then we've got a command right here, but this is literally what you would copy and paste into the command line to run the exact same thing, running from Nmap right here. So everything that ends up in here, I can type into here essentially, and it'll run just fine. So you also notice that some of these options are going to change as I type stuff in here, like if I type something in there, you see it's going to add it in as a target. Now you've also got different profiles, and these are already set up and ready to go for you. And so a couple of the more common types, you've got a regular scan. This is just a standard scan. You've got a ping scan. What this does is it's just going to ping every device that you tell it to, and it's just going to see if it's up and running and responds with a ping or not. A quick scan, this is just scanning some specific ports. It does it really fast. It's nice and easy when you just want to get a basic topology of the network. An intense scan is going to scan a lot more than a quick scan, but then you can even go intense scan and all TCP ports, which is going to scan every one of the many ports. There's like 35,000 ports that you can have open, and it'll tell you the state of all those ports. So let's go ahead and try it out on a single machine. So let's try it out on our Fedora box first. So 192.168.75.130. And let's just do a quick, let's actually do a ping scan. Let's just see if it's up real quick. So if I do a ping scan, you're going to notice it has -SN right here. We could type the same thing into a terminal box, and it's just going to quickly scan it. And it's already done, and the host is up. So we know it's there. Quick scan is just it's gonna give me a little bit more information, because instead of just doing a ping, it's looking at a couple more things. So you can see we've got a MAC address, and the host is up. Fantastic. Another thing we can do here is we can go to a regular scan, and if we scan a regular scan. So another thing to note on the regular scan is that there are no extra commands in here, and it doesn't give us a terrible amount of information either. But out of the 1,000 scan ports, all 1,000 ports that it tried to scan are either closed or filtered, so we don't know anything about them right now. So let's just move up to an intense scan, show you what that's like. You're going to notice that we've got a -A for aggressive and the -V for verbose, so we can get a little bit more information out of here. So you're going to see that it's doing a couple different scans again. And I'm not going to get super in-depth into what these different scans are doing or what the difference is between a SYN scan or an ART ping scan. I mean, it's a little bit more... there are some differences, however, they're not... That's not something I plan on covering right now. Alright, so we've got a little bit more information here. You can see it's tried a couple more different things. We've tried a couple different things here, and we're not getting a terrible amount of information out of it. But we are getting some different things here that could be useful. So then we can go to Intent Scan all TCP ports. This is going to take slightly longer to complete because it's going to scan every single port. Oh, I was wrong about the 35,000. There's actually 65,535 ports that you can have on a machine, and that is actually a calculation to a specific number. This calculation is actually 2 to the 16th. So another thing you can see here is it's going to give you a little bit of a percentage here, as well as a estimation of how much time is potentially remaining, which, as you can see, it's increasing, isn't terribly accurate. However, I've also sped this up, so it has taken a little bit longer than it might have had I not sped it up for you guys. Alright, so that took a while, and I'm not even joking, that took a whole 20 minutes or so. However, it also scanned every single port and tried to find what in the world was going on. Apparently all are closed or filtered, so we weren't able to do much of anything on that, which is just fine, because I wasn't too terribly worried about it. Alright, so since we're done with that, another thing I want to show you is scanning a Windows box. So we're just going to do a quick scan on this one and see what it gives us. Alright, it looks like it's up. It scanned 100 ports and everything was filtered. That's just fine. So we can, let's do a regular scan. Alright, that scanned 1,000 ports and none of those were open. There's a couple other things we could do a little bit more advanced. We're not going to get into that right now for checking on the operating system and whatnot. However, so if we did find any open ports, they would pop up here, and this topology thing just kind of shows us where everything's located in relation to my current device and the hosts on my network. Host details, it's going to try and give you everything it can about it. So an operating system would fall into here. And scans, these are all the scans that I've been running the last little bit. So let's do one more. Let's scan my Ubuntu box. Actually, let's make sure that our firewall is running and configured properly to allow for port 22. So if we go back to our terminal, if you watched the SSH video the other day, this will be standard for you. We're going to go sudo ufw status. And if I type it right, can't ever type it right, you'll see that port 22 is denied. So we're just going to change that, and we're going to go allow 22. And so if we go check our status again, port 22 is allowed. So I'm going to go back into our Kali box. And we're going to go ahead and try scanning it. And we're just going to do a quick scan and see what kind of information it gives us. Oh, look, this popped up instantly. So it only scanned 100 ports, but because that port 22 was open, it's the first thing that popped up. So we know we've got an SSH port that's open that we can kind of do some stuff with. So like I was saying in yesterday's video about protecting yourself from SSH scans, by leaving it at the default port of 22, it makes it really easy for a quick scan to find it really fast. Now you can go through all 65,000 ports, but that's going to take forever if you're trying to do millions of hosts on the internet. It's a lot faster to do just search for something standard that's default, hasn't been reconfigured, and you know it's going to work. So once again, they're looking for the low-hanging fruit generally when these attackers are looking for stuff, just because it's so much easier to compromise a system that has low-hanging fruit than going for the more advanced and technical things. So another thing we can do, I'm actually going to close out of Nmap so we can, because you see it's saving, it's got all our hosts saved right here, so I'm just going to close out, get rid of that so we can start a new fresh one. So let's go open up Zenmap again. It's a little buggy there. And so what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to scan an entire subnet. So I'm going to go 192.168.75.0/24. So what this is going to do, this is CIDR notation. For those of you that aren't familiar with networking, this 24 represents our subnet mask and tells us what subnet we are scanning on. And the .0 means it's a it's the network it's a network address. So you can't put a host on a .0. So we're going to scan everything under this. So the subnet mask of this would be the equivalent of 255.255.255.0, which means there are 254 potential hosts right here, more or less. Anyways, we don't want to do an intense scan. We just want to do a quick scan. And so we're going to scan the entire subnet and just see what it gives us. And so I'm also going to speed this up a little bit just so that way it doesn't take forever. Oh, just kidding. That actually went really fast. So here we go. Just a quick scan of all these subnets. You're going to notice that we are instantly seeing a couple different bits of information here. So you can see we've got, let me expand this over here a little bit. We've got a couple of different hosts right here, right? So we already know this is our Windows box, this is our Fedora box, and this is our Ubuntu box. But we've also got a couple different addresses here. I believe this is probably our Kali box. This is most likely the broadcast address. This is most likely the gateway, and then I'm not sure what that is, but it says the host is up, so it's finding it. It might have something to do with routing, and it looks like it says it's VMware, so it probably recognized the MAC address as a VMware MAC address. So because I'm running this on VMware, we can see that we've got VMware running here, and VMware running there, and over here, and over here, and all our MAC addresses are actually VMware. So that's not necessarily specific to the operating system. If we go to ports, we can see we've got port 5.3 open on the 75.2 right here. We might be able to do something with topology. Once again, that's just kind of giving you a quick overview of where everything's located. I honestly don't find topology that great of a feature to have, but then this is just the basic version of it. Hosts, we're looking at the .2. It's going to tell us that we don't know a whole lot about it. And once again, it only scanned 100 ports. So we can kind of go through a couple of these one at a time. All these ports are filtered. All these ports are closed except for one. Over here we have no open ports, and so you can kind of go through a couple of these. So if we go back to our ports, we can go back through here. 22 is open, 53 is open, and 5357 is open. So using this, you can scan your entire network. You can figure out what host you have. If you do a little bit more in-depth scanning, you can generally predict the kind of operating system that's on them. Not always, and it won't always be accurate, but you can generally get fairly close in your guessing. And Zenmap just makes it really nice to be able to run Nmap without knowing too much about what you're doing. And there's a lot more in-depth stuff in here. If we go to profile, and we can go to edit selected profile or a new profile, and you're just going to see there are tons and tons of options in here. So is there anything specific you want me to go over in here, go ahead and put it below in the comments below, and we'll make sure to cover it in a future video, which should be fantastic. So we could potentially go over creating custom profiles for doing specific kinds of scans, if there's something particular we wanted to scan for. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So Zenmap is a great utility for running Nmap for discovering what you have running on your network. This is Deep Mountain Security. Don't forget to like and subscribe.